Narcissism is really having its moment now. There's a lot of people talking about narcissism, the effects of narcissism on people, and just narcissism in general. And there's a lot of talk about how people are misusing the word narcissism, how they're overusing that term, which I will agree with. Yes, that is happening. A lot of times we are just slapping the label of narcissist on someone without truly understanding what's going on here. And it's also true that there are legit narcissists out there that are wreaking havoc on relationships. So I have to talk about narcissism here because it's one of the most common types of toxic relationship dynamics that you can encounter out there. If you're dating, you need to know about narcissism so that you can avoid getting into one of these relationships that can take a really long time to heal and recover from. So today, I'm diving deep into narcissism, and I'm going to share a little bit of my personal experience dating someone narcissistic. Let's start with the basics here. What is narcissism? So narcissism is not a diagnosis. I know a lot of people think that narcissism is when you're diagnosing somebody. You're not. It's a personality style. I'm not talking about NPD here, narcissistic personality disorder. That is a diagnosis, but that's not what this video is about. NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, is a more severe form of narcissism, and it is at that extreme level, it is considered a mental illness. Narcissism is a personality style that's characterized by an obsessive self-interest, self-absorption, and an obsession with getting their own needs met at the expense of everyone else's. Narcissists in general have this grandiose sense of self-importance, meaning they see themselves as almost like larger than life. They believe they're capable of anything that they put their mind to, which, from the looks of it, just straight up, you'd think, oh, that's not that bad. Like, that's a really good attitude to have. But when we're dealing with people who are narcissistic, it goes way beyond the level of what is actually possible into delusion. They believe that they're capable of things that are way beyond what the evidence would currently show them to be capable of. They also truly believe that they are special and unique, which, okay, again, in and of itself isn't that bad, but they take it to another level where they believe that they can only be understood by other special and unique people. This is the kind of person who's always trying to get into the most exclusive clubs or inch their way up to the highest levels of society because they feel like they belong there. They are entitled to be there because they are the only people that can understand them. They are entitled, meaning they feel like they deserve the best, always and forever. My ex was always talking about being the best, having the best, me being the best partner when he wasn't hating me. Now again, it's nice to have good things, right? We all want to have really nice things and have nice experiences. But when we're dealing with someone narcissistic, this goes to the extreme, to where they feel disdain and even hatred for anything that is not up to their standards of what they think is acceptable. So that's a general overview of how narcissism shows up, but let's tackle how narcissism shows up in relationships. And really, I can explain this in one word: badly. If you're in a relationship with someone who has higher levels, higher degrees of narcissism, I always recommend leaving. These personality traits can be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to change. And so if you're wondering why this is the case, like why is it so hard for these personality types to change, then you might want to check out my Toxic Relationship Deprogrammer. I'm going to leave the link here in the description. I talk about narcissism from a spiritual awakening perspective. And I also share basically everything that I've learned on my healing journey, my understanding about the ego, narcissism, and my personal experiences working with spiritual teachers, being in a narcissistic relationship. So it's all there. Check out the Deprogrammer. There's a lot that I learned on my healing journey with being confronted with my own narcissistic traits, because everyone does have them to some degree. It's on a spectrum here. Some people have them in really high amounts and some people just have very little. And so understanding my own traits helped give me a greater perspective on where people who with higher levels of narcissism are coming from. It's helped a lot of people get clarity on what's going on for them in their relationships. And I'm talking about things that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. So if you want a really, really deep dive on narcissism, toxic relationships, check out my deprogrammer. So how else does narcissism show up in relationships? Well, they need excessive admiration. They need constant praise. When I was dating my narcissistic ex, I felt like being with them was like being with a bottomless pit. Like I could give them all the praise in the world, and it was never enough. I was just pouring praise, admiration, compliments in there, and the bucket would never fill up. That's what it feels like to be with someone narcissistic. The narcissistic person may even be choosing you as a partner because they feel like you're the best person to attempt to fill up that bucket with praise. Now, this may be conscious on their part, usually it's unconscious, but they think that you're going to do the best job at this, so that's why they're with you. One of the reasons, at least. They are personally exploitative, which means that they don't see other humans as complex beings with their own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, their own inner world. They see other people as tools, as objects. They see other people as just these things that are going to help them get what they need. And that's it. You can end up feeling really used and taken advantage of in these relationships. They lack empathy, which means they really don't care about your feelings unless caring helps them to get them what they want. And we can't even say they genuinely care, but some narcissistic people do possess a cognitive empathy where they can appear to care, but it's not a true emotional caring experience. So when someone lacks empathy, it's like they just don't have the wiring to either be aware of your emotions, to notice them, or to take them into consideration. And this can leave you feeling like the other person is just in the relationship for themselves, and like they truly don't care about who you are as a person or what you need in the relationship. The way this showed up for me in my relationship was that when I was dating someone narcissistic, I actually felt like they could just drop me at any moment. The person I was with was so focused on like the next shiny thing that I felt just completely invisible here. Like they really didn't care about my feelings. If, let's say, we were at a checkout and he was flirting with the cash register, I would be right there feeling like, I can't believe this is happening right now. But that's what it feels like to be with someone narcissistic. I also felt like he could leave at any moment because since he did lack the empathy and emotional capacity to connect, he was not forming a strong emotional connection with me. He was not attaching to me very deeply. And so he really could leave at any moment, and that is what happened. I've talked to a lot of people who have gone through narcissistic relationships, experienced narcissistic abuse, and there's a real range of experiences that you can have with that. But if you've been with someone who's on the higher end of that narcissistic spectrum, like the traits they have are much more intense, then that's an experience, if you've gone through it, that's unlike anything else you've probably ever experienced. That's what it felt like for me when I met this narcissistic ex. I felt like there's something so different about this person, so off, and the level of narcissism in him was so extreme that it really just blew my mind. Again, I had never met someone like this before. It's a real otherworldly experience if it happens to you. With someone who's narcissistic, you're probably going to be experiencing abuse. You're likely going to experience manipulation and even gaslighting, which is an attempt to convince you that the way you perceive reality is wrong or not real. It's an attempt to make you seem or feel crazy. Narcissists can also be really arrogant and really haughty, condescending, and this can make you feel really bad about yourself. It can do a number on your self-esteem to be with someone narcissistic because they're always blaming you for their behavior. You are always the one at fault in their minds. They blame you for their own behavior because they are not able to take accountability for their actions. It's always someone else's fault. And if you are a person who tends to do the opposite, who tends to blame themselves, then unfortunately you fit right into a narcissistic relationship. That's why doing your own healing work and shifting that tendency to always blame yourself will actually prevent you from getting into more narcissistic relationships. Once you're in that place, where you take accountability for your own actions, but you're not blaming yourself for things that you don't have control over, then you don't fit with narcissistic relationships. It just won't make sense. You'll move on very quickly. Ultimately here, keep in mind that it truly doesn't matter whether you figure out if someone is narcissistic or not. And I say this because sometimes people get really obsessed with trying to figure out whether someone is narcissistic or not in order to give themselves permission to leave a relationship like that. Like if they figure out that they're a narcissist, well then okay, then I can leave. But don't treat it like this. You don't need that confirmation. If someone is treating you badly, then you can leave. You don't even need an excuse or a reason to leave a relationship. If you don't want to be there, you can leave. So don't get obsessed about trying to figure out whether someone is narcissistic or not. You have permission, if you need it from me today, to leave a relationship where you're not happy. All you need to know is that if someone is treating you badly, narcissist or not, it is okay to leave. If you'd like to know more about a specific type of narcissist, which is someone that I'm calling the spiritual narcissist, then check out this video here. I go even deeper into my own experience with dating someone like this.